Hi, everyone, and welcome, Muha. I'm so excited to be here today to our groundbreaking journey under this year's theme: art, Afrofuturism, geography, designing an equitable and feminist future. So, I am Veronique Coutier. My pronouns are she/her. And I am the founder and director of the Afrotech Fellowship Program, which is one of the sponsors of this 2024 Black History Month series. I'm really thrilled to be with all of you here today as we embark on this journey through Afrofuturism, data, and celebrating ingenuity across the African continent. Before I even begin with our guests, like what is Black History Month series? So during the month of February, we'll be hosting a series of weekly conversation with artists, geothinkers, and innovators. Our conversation will focus on imagining and creating tangible pathways toward a world where equity, feminism, and Black prosperity are realities. So today, once again, we embark on this journey to explore, create, and lead to an equitable and feminist future. Our conversation today is about the mesmerizing journey through the sonic landscape of Mozambique as we share in Muha's artistic exploration. So, through this session, like we really want to transcend borders, and it's led by Muha, a visionary composer, Imbira musician, and artist deeply immersed in the rich tapestry of Mozambique sound. So, in this unique experience and conversation today with Muha, I want to take us on a sonic adventure, weaving together his diverse cultural influences, rhythm, and melodies that shape Mozambique's musical identity and its connection back to nature. But Muha doesn't just do music. He also leverages the power of geospatial technology, GIS, to help the world discover vibrant and diverse soundscape. Who is Muha then? So meet Decio Gomate, also known as Muha. He is currently based in the heart of Maputo, Mozambique, although he's a bit of a travel bird and go where the winds take him. He's passionate. He passionately dives into the world as a composer, soundscape recordist, and underwater photography. His journey as is a symphony of inspiration, finding his way by feeling the world through sound and drawing inspiration from Mozambique natural landscape. So his sounds are to him colors, vibrant with emotion that he used to sculpt auditory wonders. He takes listeners through space, time, and places. Welcome, Muha, and thank you so much to be here with me today. I'm really excited about this session.
Wow, thank you so much, Feho, for this amazing work you're doing and for this beautiful introduction. I'm so excited to chat with you about my work. And yeah, thanks for the space again.
Yeah, you're welcome. And to kind of begin our conversation, I have a fun question. So, Muha, if one of your musical instrument could talk, because I am assuming you have more than one, what stories, what is a story that they would tell about you?
That's a great question. It reminds me of this time that after working at Heineken at corporate for a year, I kind of had to make this decision like, what am I going to do with my life? Because I wasn't feeling so much this corporate work at marketing. I knew I wanted to work with music. So I got myself on a plane to Berlin and I went to live there for a few months with some friends. And at that point, we didn't really have like very sustainable living conditions. My friend had just moved out of his apartment and he was staying with his girlfriend. And I was staying with some friends who I didn't have the house key. So we always had to like communicate so that I could come in and out. And one day I found myself like stuck in the streets of Berlin just with my Imbira and no phone and just, yeah, I was alone with my Imbira. So I just kind of like, I didn't stress myself. I just played. I went to a nice, they have these shops that stay open 24 hours, Shpetis. So I went to a Shpeti and I bought myself a beer and I just played Mbira outside. And out of this, I met some people and they're like, hey, what are you up to? What is this instrument you're playing? And I ended up going to a party and I ended up like waiting enough time for my friends to be back home. And yeah, my Mbira always saves me in some shape, way, or form. She's always there to save me. Yeah.
That's like a beautiful story. And I think it really illustrates the diversity in your journey because you've been in the corporate world, but when you go into your website, there's like the three words that jump to you are composer, live electronic, and sonic explorer, which is not what you would see on everyone's like website as a musician. Is It's kind of an interesting intersection here, and it sounds that in your life you've kind of walked different paths that has led you to these different style of music and influences and areas of interest. And I can sense that there's a lot of approach into your, like a lot of passion in your approach to music. I would like to know what sparked your passion for music and what at what age did that start?
Oh wow, that's a great question. I think my life as a sound lover and as a musician really started by inspiration of my dad. My late father was a jazz pianist, and one of the earliest memories I have is of sitting under the piano as he played. And I just had this distinct feeling of the vibration of the sounds touching my skin. And I don't know, ever since then, I kind of experienced the world through the lens of sounds, and not only conventional sounds coming from a piano, but also the sounds of nature and the sounds of a busy metropolitan city or sounds of machinery. Sounds can make us feel so much, and we're so kind of vulnerable to them. And yeah, I think, yeah, this has been what has driven my passion so far. Yeah.
And I will say that your work is not just centered on music and entertainment. And I see this with your work with the Noof composers, sorry, which is this group of talented African musicians. And you have worked on some incredible projects. And I got like, whilst I was preparing for the session, I watched Reformed, which you were one of the composers for this short documentary. And it shares the story of Kapanda, who is a former poacher who turns game ranger after his brother like gets killed. And the music and the cinematic like space created through that movie for me is more than entertainment. It's real storytelling, like being like at play, because there's someone's life story here that you're presenting. And you know I would like to know, like, what are some of the highlights on working on this project, and what are some of the best memories around like working on a project like this for you?
Oh, wow. First of all, before I can speak about Reformed, I need to speak about the director, the magical director who made the film, Samson Moyo. He's a new fellow, and the film is a product of a new commission where he got support to produce the film. And this is how myself and the other group of composers we were involved in the process of composing music for this film. And yeah, I think as a composer, the most important part you can never forget is that you are a storyteller, and we are there to aid the story and not to put our egos or to show how talented we are. It's not. It's a very selfless kind of place to be in music, contrary to being like center stage in a band or being a solo act. Um, so I think the most impactful moment in composing music for Reformed was seeing the film for the first time, and it had no music, and the power of the story was it immediately made me want to be a part of it. Chipenda Kapaga's story is so inspiring. that human, yeah, the human need of sustenance led him in a path that was not good for the environment. And this also makes us question, like, what is the place of human survival and development and conservation, and how he went like 360 in this world of like harming wildlife for his own benefit and learning so much about the park, but then turning that around and using all that knowledge to now protect the park. I think that's a metaphor for a lot of life's aspects, and our music was just a reflection of that. We wanted to show that you can have a second chance. I think if you heard in the credits song, the music was more uplifting and inspiring, and yeah, we were just following the narrative of the movie. One key aspect that I remember in composing music for this film is being in Marseille, France, in the summer of 2022. New flew us out there. We went to the hometown of our composer teacher, somewhere Safa, where this is where we had the first experience of recording a score in the studio. And this film is actually very special because the following year we went to Jackson Wild and we performed it live, and that's where a lot of the opportunities came for the Compose Yourself Lab, like being able to collaborate with National Geographic and the team at in Botswana who are working on the Nkashi film, and we scored that film as well. But it was all thanks to Reformed, that beautiful story that gave us a space to make music that really touched people. So yeah, that was a really special film, and I still watch it today after this time. It's still very touching.
And it also is a beautiful story that tells the power of one man to have so much impact when it's grounded in local knowledge. Because thanks to his change of life and his decision, he helped reduce poaching by 70% in the park. Um,
Yeah.
so that's like a really significant impact to, and to tell such a beautiful story. I was like deeply touched watching it. And you know, but I want to learn more about the, so that was on your composer life, right? Because like I say, there's three main themes like that stood out on your website is the composer life, but the next one is you as a sonic explorer. So my next sets of questions are really kind of geared toward this. And I want to know what, like, how did you first become captivated by the concept of sonic landscape of Mozambique, and what inspired you to embark on this journey, this
That's a very
exploration?
interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting question. Um, For me myself as a producer, I come from an age where like I've been blessed to have a laptop to work on my music composition. And ever since a young age, I've had this feeling of like I don't want to work indoors. I don't want to be bound by these four walls and have to spend so much time looking at the screen while I'm working on music. So throughout my teenage years and as I was growing up, I was going to like parks around Maputo, and I was going to different locations around my city that I could sit and work. And in these places, I would wear headphones, like on one, like I would just wear headphones like this so I could hear what's going on the outside, and I could hear what I'm working on. And a lot of times I found that, wow, the soundscape that I'm hearing actually adds to the music. It's informing the music. And that's where this idea came of, hey, what if I record these sounds and I make them part of the music? Because this is where the music is being created. It's an important feature to include because, yeah, this is where the music is manifesting itself. I'm being moved by this place. So it only makes sense to include these sounds in the music. So the recording aspect of collecting sounds came from this point. And I've been recording like soundscapes and all kinds of sounds for as long as I can remember. And I think the game changer was when I went to the National Geographic Storyteller Summit last year in January, and I met an amazing cartographer called Adam Jenkins, and he showed me this technology that I could basically plot points on a graph of where I record these sounds and use this this platform to tell a story, taking listeners to through like a auditory journey of all the points where I collected these sounds. And my mind was completely blown away. I was like, wow, I can actually do this. So Adam was so kind enough to give me access to a license, and he gave me a few classes on how to collect data points using a survey on my phone, and how to tell a story using a story map. And slowly I started building my first kind of like interactive um, yeah, sonic exploration maps. And yeah, I think the idea came from Adam because he gave me access to the technology. The intention was already there. I had been recording sounds and kind of making music that included these sounds for the longest time. And having access to this cartography tech software just added a whole other layer of storytelling and immersion in the work that I was already doing. Yeah, so that's how it started.
That's wonderful. And to be honest, when I heard that you were leveraging the technology for your work, I got really happy because one of the big push that I've always had was to increase access of this mapping technology to people that don't come from a traditional background of making just maps. As there's nothing wrong with that, we need them because cartographers are very important. But I see so many applications in my community across Africa for this mapping tool for people that have such powerful stories about where they live through art and through musics that I'm really like happy to hear that you got embarked on this journey. And we will always be a support system for a project like yours because it really align with not only North Star, and personally on a personal level I will always want to support it. And you have not recently also received a National Geographic grant to pursue your work, correct? Or are you in the work process of that?
Yeah, so so from having access to these tools, I came up with the Nat Geo grant proposal, and I applied last year. And thank God, the people at National Geographic like my project, and they saw potential in the work that I'm doing. And yeah, I got the grant. So at the moment, I'm developing the story. I'm putting together all the puzzle pieces to go to Gorongosa National Park and tell an auditory journey, taking listeners through the park using sounds as the main driving mechanism. And yeah, just raising awareness at the power of a sound. You know, when you take a photograph, you get what the frame allows you to capture, but when you record a sound, you can hear things that are so far away. Sounds are so full of information, and they've always guided us as humans and our communities. The sounds have been there to keep us safe. Sounds have been there to warn us of danger. Sounds have also been there to warn us where food is and where we can find livelihood. So unfortunately, I feel like in today's age, we're so kind of focused on a visual cues. So my personal mission is to remind us that we also have these auditory cues. That's why I chose to tell a story through the lens of sound through Gorongosa Park. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what's also beautiful is I go back to your story at the beginning of how you went onto the Sonic Explorer journey. It's really interesting because I love music. I am constantly listening to music. And I always try to get the best noise canceling headphones because I really want to block out any sound that's not the music. And it was interesting that instead of getting annoyed by the sound outside of the music, you saw it as part of the music, as something that needed to join path. So that's like a very interesting approach to not just discarding it as noise, but seeing it as a continuation of what you're listening to. Um, I just think that's like a very powerful way of reframing how we see the world in a very positive way.
Yeah, yeah. It also reminds me, now that you put it in that way, it reminds me of this community in the Central Republic of Congo called the Bayaka Pygmies, where their whole music and the melodies that they use in their music is completely inspired by the soundscape of the rainforest where they come from. So they cannot perform their music if they don't have the biophony and the geophony of the Central Republic of Congo's rainforest. And if you hear the rhythms that they play and the kind of scales that they sing, they're singing with the birds and with the crickets and with the frogs. And it's just a reminder that, our lives has never existed outside of sound. From the moment we are in our mother's bellies, we already are hearing from 3 months old. We already hearing our world. So it's like you can't break away from the soundscapes happening around us. They are part of the now. So I think it's important to acknowledge these voices and amplify them and really listen and tune in to what they're telling us. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, when I think about like music in Mauritius, one of our traditional music is rooted in like slavery. And when you look at the instruments that were used, it's really powerful because a lot of the communities that were moved to Mauritius were from mainland Africa, and they lost a lot of the traditional knowledge, but they managed to reinvent their own instrument with goat skin and like bottles and triangles that they self-made. And a big part of that environment also is fire, having a fire lit, and the
Mm-hmm.
sound of the crackling fire as part of that experience. And to be honest, I had never thought about like what feeling this creates when we hear the traditional rhythm of our music. It just wakes you up instantly because you recognize it, like you get attuned to it. And kind of a bit still talking about music, now I'm going to shift to your third hat. But before we do that, I would like, we talked about your sonic landscape. I would like to know if you would be willing to share with us some of your latest sonic exploration recording.
Oh yeah, sure. So everywhere I go, I take my Zoom recorder, and I've been in Nairobi for a week now, and I've been collecting some sounds here. There's beautiful soundscapes that sound totally different from what I'm used to back at home in Mozambique. So I have some sounds I prepared here that I would love to share. Yeah, should I do it now?
Yes, wonderful. I'd love to have it now.
All right, cool. Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna switch over to the. Oh wow. Okay. I just need to change the audio quickly. Sorry.
No worries. Like, it's live. It has its challenges.
So
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
That was wonderful, Muha. Thank you so much. Like, is your sound back on? So, toward the end, you blended your own music, right? Is this what the sounds you added? Was there any editing to the sound?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Did you hear my question? Sorry,
Okay.
I'm happy to. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes. I heard the
Yes.
question. Yeah. So there was no editing to the sound. I just kind of started blending what I would imagine some textures to augment the storytelling of what was happening in the sounds. Basically, I played you three sounds that I recorded in one day. The first one was super early in the morning, like at around 3 a.m. There was a bunch of crickets and birds. And then the second one, it was a soundscape that I recorded at around 5 a.m., where the soundscape changed a bit as the sun started rising. I could feel the intensity of this biophony waking up. Like all the birds were like, "Hey, it's a new day," and the crickets. It just got more intense. And towards the end, I played you the sound of a market that I went to. Um, yeah, where I went to do some shopping. And as I was hearing these sounds, I imagined like, wow, I think there should be like a texture underneath these as like a bed that would carry the sounds forward. My final intention is to create this kind of ambient piece that takes you across these different spaces and places. Yeah, telling you the story of the soundscapes of Nairobi and what this amazing city sounds like.
I'm a birder, and I always had this. I listen to a lot. When I go to a new place, I tend to listen a lot to birds. And I always make this reflection to myself, when you go into a new space, the sounds are also foreign. So even if everyone may speak the same language as you, your level of comfort and how comfortable you feel in a space is really tied to the sounds around you. And when I'm like leaving Mauritius, I am somewhere else, the sounds of birds and nature are sometimes the first thing that I hear before realizing someone might be speaking a different language, because I'm also a birder. So I'm always asking myself, what is this bird? And
Yeah.
when I returned to Mauritius after 3 years, the first thing that struck me was the sounds of birds and how familiar and how I could recognize the species instantly, which is something I hadn't realized before spending time away from home, which
Mm.
more than just visual cues, you're right, sound is like a powerful communicator. And the whole like soundscape you share, it's telling a story. You can almost visualize the scenes as they are happening.
Yeah, yeah. What I love to do is like to close my eyes and almost instantaneously it feels like my body is transported to that place where the sound was recorded. Even if it's a soundscape that I didn't record myself, the power that sound has to transport, yeah, us emotionally, almost spiritually to a different point and place in time is so powerful. And yeah, we're really so sensitive to sounds, and
Mhm.
I think it's 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 kind of sad that a lot of us forget that, and we're not so aware of that, and that's kind of like why I do the work that I do. I just want to inspire and remind people that hey, the sounds are telling you a rich story, and there's so much that we can learn from what is happening sonically around us. Like for example, if you hear a room that has reverb, you can kind of imagine that wow, okay, this person is in a specific space that is kind of like must have this kind of dimension, or it must have a very reflective wall surface, or there are spaces that are very dry. So throughout the day, it's not only in the soundscapes, but also in how sound behaves in a specific environment. It's telling us so much. Yeah, so I think it's kind of important to be connected to that world of data that is always being fed to us through our ears.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm interested to hear more about the live electronic side of your work also, because as you brand yourself as like being in that space, but your compositions really also combine Mozambican folklore and instruments such as the Imbira Nyanga Nyanga. Am I pronouncing it right? You can correct
Nyunga
me.
nyunga,
With
yeah, mbira nyunga nyunga.
Nyunga. Okay, Imbira Nyunga Nyunga with contemporary electronic aesthetic. So when I saw this, I thought to myself, this is so in line with what I think when I think Afrofuturism, because for me, Afrofuturism is not on only seeing what's like trendy and the future and just centered around tech. It's also honoring the past and uplifting the past and tradition. Um, and I would love to know like what sparked the infusion, because you could have kept those two things separate. What inspired you to see this as an important fusion for your work?
Oh wow. Um, I think when I hear this question, my mind is immediately kind of like drawn to zoom out and to think about like my life as a contribution to the life of the Mbira, which has existed for much longer than I have, and our culture has also existed much longer than I have. And my place as an artist in this point in time is to kind of like use the tools that are available to express myself. And if that is also involving to express changes or exploring with the instrument that has existed for a very long time and adding on to that, then that's my duty. So for me, it's kind of like, okay, I am in love with this amazing instrument. It's a mellophone. It's called the Imbira. I've been playing it for like 7 years. For the greater part of my adult life, I didn't know this instrument existed, and it's a Mozambican instrument. So it made me wonder, like, why? why don't I know about this instrument, and what can I do to help people, more people, know about the instrument, find it more relevant to them in the current like space that we're living in. So this is kind of like the natural progression that took me to blend the world of acoustic instruments, which is the Imbira, with the electronic aesthetic that I've been producing electronic music from age of 14. I remember my mom driving me to my first gig in Maputo. She could not believe that I was 14 years old and I was gonna go play at a club, Rua d'Arte, and my set was at 4:30 in the morning. She's like, no way, like, no, I'm gonna take you there. I wanna see if this thing is legit. And she was completely like, oh my god, like, people are here to listen to this music that you make at home. And the electronic part has always been there. And when I started feeling like I want to connect more with my culture and my roots, I picked up the Mbira, and it was only natural that I would kind of join those two worlds, which I love so much. Um, Also, kind of looking at the Mbira as an instrument, these tines here, they're made of iron, but the first version of the Mbira didn't have this kind of tine. It was made by with bamboo sticks, and you'd use kind of like some sticks to play the instrument. But when we got access to this new technology, the Mbira, the instrument itself, kind of was modified and upgraded. And what I call traditional or folklore today is actually a high tech technology that came not so long ago. And similarly, today I have access to technology like digital technology. I came to Kilele Summit and I found out about this little um, microcomputer called the Bella, where you can basically program specific audio processing parameters live, and you can make your own instrument. And I saw so much potential of including this kind of technology in my Mbira. So I'm really excited to explore the world of programming and making a sound looper slash sound designer tool that I can use live in my Imbira concerts. And I think as an artist in today's age, it's almost our responsibility to be aware of the tools that we can use to augment the stories that we're telling about our community, about our homes, about our lives. Yeah. Oh, I can't hear you.
Great. I was talking on mute. Always happens. And we have a comment from Martha Mutizo, who is
Okay.
one of the people watching us live, who say, love to hear the birds and crickets amidst the hustle of our city. So from your recording, which is wonderful. And what I wanted to say, it was really fun that you just magically produced your Mbira. I should have just guessed. It was like, I just like how it just appeared. And um, that was wonderful. And I don't know if the sound is going to come through, but I would love to hear the sound of the Ambira on the call because I could hear it when you actually like. So maybe we could do a trial if we can actually hear it. I'm not 100% sure with your microphone, but do you, by any chance, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you feel comfortable.
Oh yeah, I would love to play you a Mbira song. Just let me know if you can hear.
Yes. Thank you so much. Like, Muha, I really appreciate you playing for us. That was a beautiful performance. And the sound is like so soothing. And I actually can't wait to see you play live, which is very soon, hopefully. So
Yes.
um yes, we have to make that happen, obviously.
I'm so excited to meet you soon, yeah. At the Youth
Same.
Congress and to participate
Exactly.
at your workshop. Yeah.
Same. I'm really excited to meet you in the flesh. We've known each other virtually for a while, and talking about collaboration, like I know you've always going into many direction. Is there any experience past or things that are upcoming, um, music project that has impacted your career growth, musical growth, and career growth, or things you want to share that's coming up?
Oh, sure. Um, I feel so blessed to be able to have participated in the Youth Composer Self Lab. Connecting with these composers from all over the continent has really opened and enlightened my ears to other sounds of the continent. And to be able to work closely with these composers and have them become close friends has really changed my life. So I really have to like pay homage to Newf and to the composers and to all the amazing work that we have done collectively and the work that each one of us is doing individually. We're all so busy. We're all just doing things all over the place. Um, I'm really happy to also be working with amazing musicians from Mozambique, specifically Lena Bahule. She's such a talented singer, songwriter, um, vocal student, and yeah, she's such a force of nature. I remember when I first went back to Mozambique after doing my studies in Cape Town in business and management. My mom offered me a ticket to watch this artist she saw on TV and she thought I would like it. So I went there not knowing who this person was and I saw Lena perform live for the first time and I had goosebumps. This was something like 4 years ago, and for the past 2 years, I've been collaborating with her. We went on tour in 2022 for the first time, and this year we're going on tour again to Brazil and to Europe. And yeah, with her, I've learned so much about this interaction of the body as a musical instrument and the place of electronics in kind of aiding and amplifying the amazing work that she's already doing. In the band, I don't play. I'm more of a audio engineer person who's building up her sound, like looping things live and bringing a sound from here that we decided would work. And I'm composing pieces for other parts of the set. And it's really interesting to see how it comes together with different musicians in the stage. I think we have something very special together. So I'm excited about that tour. And yeah, I'm excited about the work with the Nat Geo grant that I'll be doing throughout the year. And something that is completely unrelated, I became a diver recently and I've been exploring the world of underwater sounds and photography. And this is, yeah, it's the newest passion in my life, and I can't wait to continue diving and learning about the deep ocean and seeing how I can interconnect my love for sound and music with this passion for diving and photography and cinematography. So yeah, it's a very exciting moment of my life right now.
Well, I think you have a lot of exciting project coming up. And for anyone who hasn't caught the link, it's been showing up at the bottom. Um, the link to Muha's link tree. You can follow him on like the different platform that is on his link tree. Has everything imported about Muha on there, including Spotify, the movie reform that I talked earlier. You'll find his website and a lot of amazing content to explore about the amazing human that he is, an artist. And I want to create some space for questions from the audience. So the link for Muha's website is also at the bottom right now. But is there any question from the audience? Just gonna wait for a second. And while we wait for, so do not hesitate to post your question um, in the chat. And I wanted, whilst we, oh, I think we have a question. So Angel Care says, this session is really fantastic. Your work and way of expressing what you do is inspiring. So we are talking about Afrofuturism. What would be your message to the future generation in this field?
Oh wow! Thank you, Anne, for joining and for tuning in and being interested in my work. Your question is really great because I think no one really knows what is the right answer. But I think that if we all kind of, I know this is gonna sound very cheesy, but the only way I got to be here presenting and sharing with you my work is because I was honest with myself and I really just do what really makes me feel very passionate about. So I think that if we all just kind of are honest with ourselves and we follow our heart and we do the things that we get excited about, I think the future of Africa and the world will be very amazing. Now, if there's a right answer for the field of soundscape ecology, I don't really know. It's a very new field. We only got access to these devices that let us record high quality sound over the last 50 years or so. Today, a thousand people who have degrees in soundscape ecology. Only very few places in the world offer this course. So I think it's a field that is unfolding. So in this similar way, we also have to unfold with it and explore and see what can be done. That for me is the most exciting thing about the work that I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for this great answer. And I think you're absolutely right. The potential are quite limitless, and we have to like being creative with how you use um, the technology that is given to us, not just like mapping or sound recordings, just technology in general is like very important. The next question is from Aisha. She said, "Thank you for this morning's soundscape. Were you nervous to walk away from your corporate career?"
Yeah. Hello, Aisha. I was really nervous. It was such a difficult, like, place to be in terms of like getting that job at Heineken. I participated in a call out where 1,200 people responded, and we all met at this big hall. And slowly but surely, we were kind of cut down. It was kind of like being in a game TV show. But at the end of it, from 1,200, there were six of us who went and did a final presentation at Heineken, and I was one of the lucky four who made it in. So I did this internship slash traineeship for 1 year, and luckily I was great at it. My bosses loved the work that I did. I was responsible for creating a strategy for their music and event sponsorship. So I was actually doing something I love. I kind of decided on which events we should sponsor and create a strategy for each of our big SKUs. And I mean, most of my job was to go to competitors' parties, to speak to marketing agencies, which was fun. But there was something in my heart that I felt that I should be doing something different. And I felt like if I wasn't honest to this feeling, I would be, yeah, being dishonest and not doing the work that maybe divine put me here in the world to do. So it was difficult. My family didn't support me. I was like this crazy, it was a crazy idea, dropping this job and buying a ticket to go live in Berlin. If you don't make the risk. But now that I'm kind of a bit grown up, I would say like don't do it like a rock star. Maybe try and have like a steady income because art is expensive, equipment is expensive. You need to pay your bills, and the world we live in, yeah, the reality is that you can't just quit your job, and if you're gonna do that, you have to be kind of very smart about it. Yeah, so that was my experience.
Um, the next question is, you like upped and moved to Berlin. Know what would happen, I think, without knowing what would happen, but your instrument saved you. Did you make the right decision, or would you now consider going back to corporate? I think you kind of already answered that question with your decision to explore further and pursuing this grant, but would you like to add anything else? Because that story you told at the beginning was a really powerful story of how your instrument, the Imbira, saved you in that moment. Would you ever think of going back to the corporate world, or you're quite happy on the path you're in?
Hey, I'm so happy and I feel so blessed that I can dedicate my life to what I love, to my passion, to Dambira, and continue living these amazing, like unpredictable experiences. Like right now, I'm in Nairobi for the first time because of my Mbira. I'm speaking about the work that I've been doing in music composition at an electronic music festival. And following here, I'm going to Durban for the New Compose Yourself Summit. And all of these kind of connections and all of this work, I would have to say it's thanks to my Mbira. It put me in a position where I know how to play this folkloric Mozambican instrument, and I also have like this comfort and background with electronic music and computers. So I wouldn't go back, not no way. I love what I'm doing, and I'm so excited about what's coming next. Yeah.
Wonderful. And someone actually asked, saying, first of all, that you're doing a beautiful work, Muha, and they are curious whether you're picking up tension notes between nature and people on the gradient of urbanization or human presence. So they want to know if you've already started picking up some patterns, I guess, with disappearance or difference in tone and volume, season, or even song. And it sounds like it's clearly a birder, so I can I can relate to that. So they've kind of asked that question maybe from a um, birding ecology and soundscape lens. But I'm curious if you've noticed any trends or any changes since you've started doing this work.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Hello, Marilyn. I actually know her. She's a colleague from youth, and thank you for your question. Um, I think definitely there has been a change in the biophonies, the wild biophonies of the soundscapes where we inhabit, because as our development as humans, as we grow and as we develop economically, and we do like monocrop farms, and yeah, we destroy nature, and in turn we destroy the homes of the wildlife where these singing birds used to be. Um, One amazing statistic, well, not amazing, actually quite sad, is the Dr. Bernie Krause. He's been recording soundscapes since the 1960s, and today we one in every two soundscapes that he has recorded has gone completely silent or muffled by human development. They're very fragile, and the sounds organize themselves in the hearing spectrum in a very specific way, much like a composer organized the different instruments, symphony, the natural soundscapes, the biophonies, the different animals that compose a specific soundscape. They organize themselves along the human hearing spectrum from 20 hertz to 20,000 kilohertz. And if you have, like, for example, planes flying by, it's going to create a disturbance in this hearing spectrum where it's going to mask some of these voices of the wildlife, and they won't be able to be protected anymore, and they won't there's this experience that was made with the frog chorus. The frogs, when they start croaking, they they croak in a way that, like, you can't really distinguish one frog from the other. It just becomes this unison, this chorus that, for example, a fox cannot distinctively hear one frog where it's coming from. But when a plane flies by this place, this chorus gets disrupted, and in this disruption, the fox is able to hear where specific frogs are, and it can take somewhere to, like, from 3 to 10 minutes for this chorus to be synchronized again, where the species can protect itself. There's also stories of birds living in urban environments as opposed to wild environments, where they lose the melody that they sing, because they use these melodies a lot of times for mating, to attract mates. And in cities, they basically cannot hear each other, so they're just, like, yeah, composing new melodies that are not what they're used to singing and don't work in the way that they're supposed to. So there's definitely this interaction and this counterplay between the sounds that we make, which a lot of times are considered noise, our sounds from our airplanes and cars and machinery like bleeps and blops, is a lot of times incoherent and unpleasant, and it disturbs the natural environment in ways that we are not very aware of and are still being studied today.
Thank you so much, Muha. Unfortunately, we're at time, and I would love to continue this conversation with you in person very soon. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here with us. You can find more about Muha on his website. I also want to say it has been a pleasure for me to be a host for the Black History Month event series, but it's not over. Continue following us for social media for Women's History Month series. There's soon coming up the release of the North Star Gaze podcast on March 5th, 2024. Um, Huge thing. And you can rewatch the Black History Month series on YouTube. There will be a rebroadcast of these series if you've missed any part of it, and support the work of North Star by donating. Join the hashtag melanated and mapping community. And happy Black History Month. Thank you so much, Muha, for today. It was really a wonderful
Thank you,
conversation, and I'm
Behul.
deeply grateful to you. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Have a
Thank
good
you so
night.
much. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining. Ciao.